A kind man saved a little lion cub who almost died due to irresponsible behavior of people. The man fed and raised a small predator, and then they had to part for a long time. A man and an adult lion met only 7 years later, and at that moment something shocking happened. One day, a rich family decided to have a real little lion cub as a pet, but people had no idea how to handle and feed a very young predator. Fortunately, Mason found out about this cub and took the hungry and very weak lion cub from the rich, after which he took him to a wild animal nursery, where the guy could take care of the animal and even train it. At that moment, the lion cub looked more like a large, completely defenseless kitten. Mason decided to name the baby Kiera, like the heroine of the cartoon The Lion King. The most important threat to Kiera's life at that moment was a bone problem. Due to the sedentary lifestyle and lack of physical activity of the previous owners, the lion cub was practically unable to stand on its paws and immediately fell as soon as it tried to do so. Seeing the poor girl's suffering, Mason took the initiative to cure Kiera. He received all the necessary permits and documents in order to provide her with personal care and rehabilitation. The guy became practically an adoptive father for the lion cub and took care of the little animal with tenderness, who always hugged his mentor with joy when they met. Mason fed the pet, played with it and monitored its health. The man gradually increased physical activity for the animal so that it could not only stand, but also run joyfully on its paws. Thanks to Mason's care and attention, Kiera regained her strength and health, and she finally managed to overcome her terrible illness. As time passed, Kiera gradually turned into an adult lioness, and the conditions in the kennel were completely unsuited for the life of large predators. Mason saw how the lioness began to show hunting instincts, and she more than once menacingly crept up on other inhabitants of the kennel. Kiera began to pose a great danger to other animals and park staff, so something had to be done urgently with the predator. The only one whom the lioness continued to love and hug tenderly was Mason. And the guy couldn't figure out what to do next with his big pet. The animal could not be returned to the wild, as it simply would not have survived there, would not have been able to forage on its own. And no pride of lions would accept an outsider. Mason finally found a suitable option. It was a sanctuary for large wild animals in Brazil, where a lioness would be housed next to other predators. There was just one significant disadvantage. Kiera will have to live very far from her mentor. Because of this he will not be able to visit his unusual pet and soon the connection between them will finally end. However, Mason simply had no other choice. Soon Kiera found herself in her new home. At first, the animal was very sad and devastated, but gradually she found a new family there and became an energetic and beautiful lioness again. It seemed that the predator had forgotten about her adoptive father forever, while Mason had only warm memories of Kiera in his heart, whom he had raised since early childhood. The guy really wanted to visit his ward, but many circumstances prevented him. For the first few months, it was impossible to meet with Kiera, as this would only worsen her already sad condition. In addition, Mason needed to take care of other wild animals and work to financially support himself and his family. Nevertheless, he never gave up hope of meeting his great friend again. After 7 long years, Mason finally had the money and time to go to Brazil. The guy was worried about only one thing: whether Kiera would recognize him after such a long period of time and whether she would at least allow him to get closer to her. Mason reached the fence and headed towards the lioness, greatly worried about what would happen in the next few minutes. The staff of the reserve allowed an experienced veterinarian to enter the predator's enclosure, while warning that he was doing this on his own responsibility. It was very dangerous, because if the big predator did not remember her former mentor, then their meeting after a long separation could end very sadly. Kiera has been around other lions for a long time and has been living according to their laws all this time. Finally, Mason opened the gate of the aviary and went inside, and at that moment Kiera seemed very impatient and walked around her territory. When the guy called the animal by name, she violently began to scratch the door of the enclosure. Then a huge lioness rushed at the man and easily knocked him to the ground. The people around froze in horror, not realizing that Kiera was just very happy to see her savior and could not contain her emotions from the feelings that flooded over her. The lioness, as before, tenderly hugged the man. At this moment, the formidable predator turned back into a small fluffy kitten, who was insanely happy to meet his adoptive father. The staff of the reserve were simply amazed and could not believe what was happening in front of their eyes. Kiera still did not want to let go of her unexpected guest, firmly grasping him with her powerful paws. It was quite dangerous considering the sharp claws, fangs and decent weight of the predator. However, Mason was not worried at all and was happy to reciprocate the animal. 7 long years have passed, and Kiera has not forgotten her savior and friend at all, showing us that even the biggest predators can become devoted and faithful friends. Dear viewers, if you liked this video, then like and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.